Hello everyone. Welcome to Confessions Jury, where people put themselves on the spot, waiting for your judgment. Sit comfortably and listen carefully, as you're about to hear today's cases. You hold the hammer and you apply the law. Let us have your verdict down in the comments section. As always, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Let's head on to our first case. Case 1. Am I the bad person for not allowing my ex and former best friend to take my kids out of state for a week to heal and recover after she was left unable to have children? I have 2 children under 12 with my ex. We divorced 5 years ago after I found out he and my former best friend were having an affair. They both tried to apologize and asked for it to not ruin everything, but their actions had already ruined everything. I hate the 2 of them. I no longer care about how they're doing. But for my kids' sake, I remain civil. I have never badmouthed them to my kids. I have never told my kids what happened. I would never want my kids to be harmed more by their father's actions than they already were. And the divorce was tough for them, and they had a hard time coming to terms with the changes. They still need therapy for some adjustment issues that have remained. My former best friend hasn't helped it either by trying to continue on as best friends despite her actions. It also didn't help that the kids went from their parents living together to their dad living with mom's former friend. But again, my primary focus has been my children. I love my kids more than I hate those 2 repulsive individuals. I love my kids more than myself, which is why I worked so hard to be civil in front of my kids. Because the last thing I wanted was to make nice with them. But my kids love their dad, and that has never changed. My ex and this woman are now married, and they tried to have children together. In December, she had her 10th miscarriage and had to be rushed to the hospital and into surgery, which left her unable to get pregnant again. I got a call from ex telling me all this and asking me to bring the children to the hospital to stay until she was ready to leave. It was my parenting time, so I told him I would not bring them to sit and wait. He was very unsettled and told me to bring the kids by and he'd get them to ask me to let them stay. I told him that wasn't happening. He made no more contact after that, and he didn't take the kids for his parenting time either or contact me about it. His mom reached out and she told me he refused to leave the hospital. He didn't see them until this parenting time came around again and she was released. There was a new tension in the air at that point. He was furious with me for keeping the kids from sitting vigil in the hospital with him. Now we have another dilemma that's become an issue. My ex booked a healing getaway for them and they want the kids to go along. It happens during my week and it's a school week. He also wants to take his weeks as normal before and after that. So he would have them for 3 consecutive weeks. From what he stated, he would potentially keep them out of school for that long so the kids can be there to help her recover and grieve knowing she has them, was how he explained it to me. I said no, and I explained that I was not letting him take them out of school for a week just for her. I told him the kids are not their emotional support to get them through this, and therapy is significantly better. I told him I didn't approve of them missing extended school time period. But I wasn't giving up my week for it. He tried to state the week he missed should be made up for, but our court-ordered parenting plan states if a parent voluntarily doesn't take their week without an agreed-upon make-up period, then the other doesn't need to give up a week in return. I pointed this out to him and he asked me how I could be so by the book about this. He said human decency would state I should be willing to put aside our differences at a time like this. And that school isn't more important than family. He asked me how I would feel if she ends her life because of this, and my refusal was part of the reason why. I told him I wouldn't feel anything. I told him they lost all their rights for me to feel something for them when they betrayed me, and I would not be manipulated into agreeing. He's pushing very hard for this and trying to guilt me into agreeing. I know I might be overly harsh in my response to this, so I wanted to ask if people believe I'm wrong or not. What do you guys think? Lay down your ruling in the comments section and let's move on to our next story. Case 2. Am I the bad person for refusing to let my sister move in after she called the cops on me over my car? I, 20F, have been living on my own for about 2 years. When I first moved out, my dad gave me his old car to help me get around. It wasn't in great shape, but he said as long as I covered the insurance and repairs, it was mine. Over the past 2 years, I've put a lot of money into keeping it running, so it feels very much like my car at this point. Last week, my older sister Anna, 21F, asked if she could move in with me temporarily because she broke up with her boyfriend and has nowhere to go. I was hesitant because we've never been super close, but I agreed. Family is family, right? But 2 days later, I got a call from the police saying my car had been reported as stolen. I was in total shock. After a long, stressful back and forth, I found out it was Anna who reported me. Apparently, she had called my dad first to guilt him into taking the car back so she could have it. When that didn't work, she went straight to the cops, claiming I had stolen it. Luckily, my dad backed me up and cleared everything up with the police, but it was embarrassing and scary to even be in that situation. When I confronted Anna, she admitted it but said she didn't think it would go that far and just wanted to teach me a lesson about sharing. Are you kidding me? I told her there's no way she's moving in after pulling something like that, but now she's blowing up my phone, calling me selfish and immature, and even got some family members involved. They're saying I need to be the bigger person because she's going through a tough time. I feel like letting her move in would be insane after this. But am I being too harsh? What do you guys think of this one? Let us know in the comments section and let's move on to our next story. Case 3. Am I the bad person for telling my wife to stop treating her sister so badly after her sister confessed to having feelings for me? My wife and I have been married for 10 years and together for 12. We have 2 children. My SIL, Jenna, is a single mom as her husband sadly passed away 7 years ago. When Jenna's husband passed away, my wife and I provided support for Jenna and her daughter because it was a really traumatic time for them. Over the years, my wife and I spent a lot of time over at Jenna's house, and she would come over to our house. I also developed a really strong bond with my niece. My wife, my children, and I had a really strong connection with Jenna and her daughter, and we were a really tight-knit group. That was until a few months ago when Jenna confessed something to both me and my wife. We were all drunk and having a good time, and Jenna kind of just blurted out that she developed feelings for me. I was shocked, and Jenna just burst out in tears and said a lot of things like how she was really grateful I was a father figure to her daughter. I don't really remember too much from that night, except that my wife kicked Jenna out of our house after that. My wife and I had a talk about it the next day, and my wife was obviously not happy at all. She said she had suspected this for years, the way Jenna was acting around me, and she couldn't believe how Jenna betrayed her like that. My wife said we would cut off all contact with Jenna, and I did accept it. My wife told me to block Jenna, which I did. However, I feel like this whole arrangement has been a bit harsh, especially towards my niece. My niece has been texting me a lot, and I've showed my wife the texts, telling her it was unfair that we were punishing our niece too. My wife told me it was a consequence of Jenna's actions. However, last night, when my niece sent a really long and sad text about she and her mom were feeling, I felt really bad and had a talk about it with my wife. I told my wife to stop treating Jenna and her daughter so badly, especially after they both went through a traumatic time. I told my wife it was wrong what Jenna did, but at least have some sympathy. I told my wife to imagine if we were in Jenna's shoes, and then one night, tragically lost me. That would scar her for her entire lifetime. However, my wife got really sad after I said that and just broke down in tears. She didn't say anything except that she loved me, and she didn't speak to me the rest of the night. I do feel guilty about what I said. I didn't intend to make my wife feel like this. Was I the bad person? Can't wrap my head around that story. What do you think? Who is in the wrong there? Let us know down in the comments section, and let's move on to our last case. Case 4. Am I the bad person for refusing to forgive my boyfriend after he used my emergency savings without asking? I, 20F, have a small emergency fund I've been saving for months. It's about $2,000, and I keep it in a separate account for, well, emergencies. My boyfriend Jake, 23M, has been struggling since he lost his job, and I've been helping him as much as I can: groceries, gas money, stuff like that. Last week, his car broke down, and the repair bill was $1,500. He was super stressed, but I told him I couldn't help and suggested he ask family or work out a payment plan. I thought that was the end of it until I saw my savings account was missing $1,500. I found out Jake transferred the money to himself using my laptop while I was asleep. When I confronted him, he said he did it because we're a team and I wasn't using the money anyway. He promised to pay me back once he got a job, but I told him that wasn't the point. It was my money, and he had no right to take it without asking. He called me selfish and said I wasn't supporting him when he needed me most. Now he's upset I'm demanding the money back, and a few of our mutual friends are saying I'm being too harsh. I don't think I'm wrong, but am I the bad person? You've sat down, you've listened. Now, it's time to state your ruling. What is it gonna be? Let us have it down in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more cases like these. In life, we may run, but we can never hide from true justice. Stay safe, everyone.